What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast, Talking with Beauties, episode 144, the Wednesday news. And we got a lot of sports to cover. We got the Waste Management Open. Yes, golf is back in the episode this week. Plus, NHL's on a break because of the Four Nations, and college softball had their first weekend, and it was very eventful. But first, let's head into the NFL. So we'll start off with the NFL, and obviously we'll start off with the Super Bowl. Kansas City, Philadelphia, in New Orleans. This one was over from the beginning. Philadelphia winning this one 40-22. Honestly, probably one of the more boring Super Bowls we've had in a while. One of the more lopsided ones that we've had up to that fourth quarter, where Kansas City did score points in that fourth quarter, 16 points to be exact. But at that point, game was over. Philadelphia was already going to win this game. So what happened? Big offensive line from Philadelphia honestly did not do all that much when it came to the run game, but the defensive line for them, the defense as a whole for the Eagles was outstanding. They played great. The defensive numbers, 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, one of those for a pick 6 from Cooper DeJong. Really good first half from the Eagles. They're up 24-0 at that point, and they pretty much controlled the whole game, ending with 40 total points. Now let's get into the box scores. For Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, yes, 257 yards, 21 of 32. That's a lot of junk yards at the end of the game. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble loss, so 3 turnovers from Mahomes himself. Xavier Worthy set a couple of rookie records, total yards being one of them, 157 yards on 8 catches, 2 touchdowns for Worthy. The MVP, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP, 17-22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 11 carries for 72 yards, and an touchdown on a tush push. Really good game by Jalen Hurts. Saquon, happy birthday to Saquon, but not a great game. 25 carries, 57 yards, 6 catches, 40 yards. Nothing too special. No touchdowns for Saquon in that game. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Jake Elliott, he's been struggling all playoff long when it comes to field goals. He looked outstanding. 4 for 4 on extra points, 4 for 4 on field goals. Really was like probably 7 for 7 on field goals. There was 3 pre-snap penalties when it came to the field goal unit. So Elliott hit them all. No misses at all. So really good game by him, hitting those points, helping out. The Eagles win their second ever Super Bowl. So congrats to Eagles. And you might want to say, like, well, the flags off towards Kansas City. Not really. Pretty even. 7 penalties for Kansas City, 8 for Philadelphia, 75 yards for Kansas City, 59 penalty yards for the Eagles. So honestly, a very even game when it came to the officiating crew. I didn't think it was all that bad. There was a couple iffy calls. I think the first pass interference call on that 4th down on the first drive of the game was very iffy. I think that was not a pass interference, but there was one on the other side that I thought Kansas City got called for a penalty. Did not think it was a penalty either. So I thought it was officiated pretty well, pretty evenly, despite there being some questionable calls on both sides. But I thought both teams, honestly, were not determined because of the officiating crew. So really good job by the officiating crew. No problems there as a whole. So overall, what did I think of Super Bowl? It was just okay. I thought halftime wasn't all that special. I didn't think the game was all that great. Besides seeing Patrick Mahomes lose, if you're not a Patrick Mahomes fan, you probably really enjoyed it. But just being a neutral and watching the game as a football game, really just a boring game in general. So kind of a slow Super Bowl Sunday in my opinion. But overall, it's still Super Bowl, still entertaining, still going to watch it regardless. But the season as a whole, it's done. It's over with. On to the offseason, which we got a lot of new news. So we'll move on to offseason news. New Orleans signed Kellen Moore as their new head coach. That was the last team to not have a head coach. Moore coming off a pretty good couple of years as offensive coordinator at a few spots. Dallas was pretty solid. LA Chargers was not all that great, but this last year, obviously Super Bowl champ with the Eagles. So I think this is going to help out New Orleans, but they got to get a new quarterback, and potentially it could be this man, Aaron Rodgers. It sounds like the Jets are moving away from Aaron Rodgers as QB1. Can this mean Aaron Rodgers is going to New Orleans? I don't know. I think New Orleans needs a quarterback. I don't think what they have right now is moving forward as a positive there. Aaron Rodgers could be that guy, but who knows? Maybe Las Vegas could be that guy. They got Pete Carroll, older quarterback, older head coach. Could be a good combo there. I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers will get another spot somewhere else. I don't think it's going to be a very good team, but if he wants to play, he wants to be QB1, I think there are going to be teams out there that want him. Last thing, San Francisco gave permission to Deebo Samuel to find a new trade destination with him and his agent. Kind of surprised, kind of not though. Beginning of the season, he wanted to get moved. He didn't get moved, obviously. He was in San Francisco all season long. But it sounds like the Niners are ready to move on from Deebo. Deebo really only had 1 or 2 good seasons. Seems like ever since that Super Bowl run where they ended up losing to Kansas City, really just kind of seemed like he kind of fell off. I mean, it seems like teams figured out what they're doing. They're not really disguising Deebo all that much when it comes to the run game, so he's not really that dual threat that everybody was really praising him for when the Niners had to use him as a dual threat. So maybe Deebo finding a new spot helps him run up that run game for himself, but I don't really know. So I think it's just a matter of time at this point. I think we'll see that before training camp starts, that Deebo will move to a new spot. All right, let's head to the NHL now. So the NHL is on a break. 4 Nations is the next 2 weeks for the 4 nations: USA, Canada, Finland, Sweden. Everybody else has a pretty solid, nice 2-week break. But before we get into any 4 nations talk, let's talk a little bit about rosters from the NHL teams. Vancouver has extended Marcus Pettersson to 6 years, $5.5 million AAV. I think Pettersson is one of the better non-talked about defensemen in the league. He played with Anaheim, so I know him pretty well when it comes to his style of play. They traded him off to Pittsburgh. I think his style in Pittsburgh was honestly not that bad. Pittsburgh just was not a very good team as a whole. So I think Vancouver's really going to like Pettersson a lot. I think he's going to thrive over there, especially being a maybe pairing to either Hughes or a second line threat for them. Overall, I think Pettersson's going to do really well there. So I think it's a really good signing. Pittsburgh placed Jesse Puljujarvi on waivers and ended up terminating his contract. Puljujarvi, 7 points in I think 33 games overall. Not very good at all. It seems like the guy's just really falling off. I don't know if he's going to get another contract in the NHL for the rest of the season though. The New York Rangers announced that Igor Shesterkin is out 1 to 2 weeks with an upper body injury. Luckily, there's a 2-week break. Maybe Igor's able to come back, not miss much time, if any, when it comes to the Rangers getting back into play. And lastly, Anaheim's John Gibson made it clear that if he were to be traded and had to waive his no-trade clause, it would really only be for 2 teams. And I initially would have thought Pittsburgh would be on this list. Sounds like Pittsburgh is off that list. I think it's just because of the state of what Pittsburgh is in right now. They're not in a win-now situation. So he said 2 teams, Carolina and Edmonton. Now, if he went to Carolina, I could see him taking that number 1 spot. I think with the numbers that Gibson has done this year, which I'll pop up on the screen for you guys, he's looked great. He's above 900 save percentage. He's below 3 when it comes to goals against. He is pretty much outstanding this year for a team that's not doing all that great, but Anaheim actually is not doing too bad. I mean, I think better than expectations leading up into this All-Star break. So I think if Gibson does go to Carolina, I think that's a definitely possible outcome there. I think Carolina would have him as a number 1 spot. The bad thing is, I don't know if Carolina will keep him around for all that long. It might be just a rental for the rest of his contract, and then he's gone. So who knows where he goes after that. But with their situation in goaltenders, I don't think... I can't think of his name right now. I'll pop it up on the screen. That Russian kid is going to be a for sure number 1, and Freddie Anderson is not a number 1 anymore. His injuries has been messing his career up, really derailing it ever since leaving Anaheim, which would be a cool reunion though, to see Gibson and Anderson back in the same duo in Carolina. So that'd be kind of cool to see. But when it comes to Edmonton, I don't think this is possible because he wants to be a number 1 guy. He's kind of flirting with a number 1 guy right now in Anaheim, but they're just not in a win-now situation, where Edmonton is more of a win-now situation. But with Stuart Skinner there in net, I don't see them moving away from Skinner as a number 1 goalie. So are they going to have a pretty 50-50 split with Gibson and Skinner moving forward? Because they don't have a really good backup in Calvin Pickard. I could see that happening, but I don't know if Gibson really wants to be a number 2 or even split 50-50, but maybe winning talks, and he's okay sitting behind that with a team that's definitely going to make playoffs, have a chance to win a cup for the next couple of seasons. So maybe Gibson will be okay with that situation, but if he does want to be a number 1 goalie, I don't think Edmonton is that spot right now. All right, let's head into some Four Nation news. We got a little bit of roster moves. USA announced that Quinn Hughes will be out with an oblique injury. Sounds like he really wanted to play this game in these games, but it sounds like Vancouver would rather have him rest and be ready for the Cup run with Vancouver, which obviously I do not think Vancouver is there enough to make a Cup run. They'll be in playoffs, obviously, but I don't know if that's going to be the case when it comes to making a Cup run. Quinn Hughes, though, is a big asset to that team. The captain of Vancouver would have been a big asset on this United States team, but overall will not make the roster. So it sounds like Jake Sanderson from Ottawa will be replacing him. We'll get into the lines later, but it doesn't sound like Sanderson will be playing all that much, but it does seem like he's just filling in a roster spot. The other roster news, Canada announced that Drew Doughty will be taking over Alex Petrangelo's spot on the team. It actually took him a little while to say a replacement. It looked like they were waiting to see if Doughty was going to be ready. This is huge news, not just for Canada, but for the Kings. I mean, Doughty's only played 6 games leading up into the break because of his injury. He played, I think, 2 games before the break. One for sure against Anaheim. I don't know if he played that game before for LA, but he hasn't played that much. Seeing him on this stage, best on best, Canada's definitely going to use him, especially with his leadership on that team. So he's going to be playing regardless. So having him kind of back into the best on best tournament, acclimating back to NHL form, this is going to be the best case scenario for LA. So I think having him in that lineup is just going to benefit LA because he's not going to skip a beat once that break's over. So this is huge for Drew Doughty getting back into shape, for the LA Kings to get him back into shape without messing up that top spots in LA. And Canada also getting a very good defenseman, even though they lost Alex Pietrangelo. So really good outlook for Canada, Drew Doughty, and LA. Really good situation for all 3 of those teams. All right, let's get into projected lineups for each of the 4 teams. Elliot Freeman on Twitter has pretty much found out that we have pretty much confirmed all the lines for all 4 teams. The only team that we are questionable on is the Finnish defense pairings. We only have 1 defense pairing matched up. Everybody else seems to be rotating within each other. But when we get to Finland, I'll obviously say what defense pairing are. We'll start off with the USA lineup. I got the USA baseball jersey on because we got baseball talk. We got Four Nations talk. So I think it's best of both worlds. USA lineup. This is a good lineup. We'll start off with the forwards. Line 1, Connor, Eichel, Matthew Tkachuk, excuse me. Line 2, we have Gensel, Matthews, Hughes. Line 4, Brady Tkachuk, Miller, Boldy. And line 4, we got Nelson, Trocheck, and then Larkin and Kreider have been seen as rotating in and out of the lineup. For defense pairings, we got Slavin and Fox, Werenski, McAvoy, Hannafin, Faber, and the 7th defenseman, Sanderson. Seems like these lineups are going to be outstanding. I'm kind of worried about that 4th line. I don't think Nelson, Trocheck, Larkin, or Kreider is going to be a great 4th line, but they are a 4th line, so I don't expect them to play all that much. But those top 3 lines, I'm very excited to see. I think JT Miller is actually going to be an underrated 3rd line defense or centerman in this lineup. I think it's going to be an outstanding lineup to watch. I think USA has a very good team. I think they're my favorites to win the Four Nations. But honestly, anything can happen. You ride a hot goalie. Maybe a team like Finland can get into there. But USA, I think they have the best lineup. I think this is a very fun team to watch. But we'll move on to Canada now, where this is a very scary lineup. The full lines, we got Stone, Crosby, McKinnon, Reinhart, McDavid, Marner, Marchant, Point, Jarvis, and lastly, Bennett, Cirelli, and Hagel. Defense pairings, we got Taze McCarr, Morrissey, Parenko, Theodore Doughty, and Sanheim. This lineup is absolutely crazy. And then we were also given some power play lines. We got the first 2 power play lines for Canada also. We got McDavid, Reinhart, McKinnon at forward, Crosby and McCarr on the defense. And then line 2, we had Marner, Stone, and Point with Morrissey and Theodore on defense. These power play lineups are crazy. That number 1 line with McKinnon, McDavid, Reinhart as forwards, Crosby and McCarr holding the line. I don't know how anybody is not going to score on this. I mean, you got 5 crazy options on scoring when it comes to the power play. That power play is going to be lethal. Do not take a penalty against Canada. I think it's going to be a miserable day for that penalty kill. But obviously, best on best. You're going to have really good PKs against them. But this power play line is outstanding. When it comes to the full lineup, though, for Canada, I don't having McDavid as a line 2 is crazy, but having Crosby and McKinnon on the same line, I think is going to be outstanding to watch. I'm kind of worried about Mark Stone. He's known to have injuries. Is he going to have the best performance? When you look at that left wing with him, Reinhart, Marchand, and Bennett as left wing options, I think that's probably the weakest position out of all of them. I think the left wing might be the weakest, but I think having Reinhart, Marner, and McDavid is a better option than putting Reinhart at the top and Stone down at line 2. Despite I think Reinhart is better than Stone, I think having that veteran lineup of Crosby, McKinnon, and Stone together, I think that's going to be a really good line for them. When it comes to defense pairings, I think it's a little bit on the weaker side, but having the two teammates, Taves and Makar, play with each other, I think it's going to be great. It's tough having Pietrangelo on the lineup because Pietrangelo was going to play with Theodore, but having Doughty in there as a third line with Shea Theodore, I think it's going to be fine. Parenko, big man up there. Morrissey, another big guy up there in the second there. Sanheim being the 7th defenseman. Overall, really good lineup for Canada. Going to be a great team to watch. They also announced that Jordan Binnington will be the starter for Team Canada against Sweden on Wednesday, which is the first game of these four nations that is on Wednesday. So really excited to watch that game. Now let's head to Sweden's lineup. Their forward line is Nylander, Zibanejad, Raquel, Kempe, Pettersson, Forsberg, Bratt, Eriksson, Ek, and Raymond. And lastly, we got Nyquist, Lindholm, and Arvidsson. That is the forward line. Carlson is in there as a pretty much a scratch, which kind of sucks to watch as an Anaheim fan. But he's the youngest guy, not just on any of these rosters, but pretty much one of the youngest guys in the whole league when it comes to second year players. So I don't know how much time he's going to get, but it's going to be fun to watch him out there if he does get that chance. When it comes to defensemen, we got Hedman and Brodin, Ekholm and Carlson, and Dahlin and Anderson. Forsling did not practice due to illness, but he is also expected to be the 7th line guy, it seems like, or 7th defenseman. Sweden, pretty solid lineup. I'm kind of surprised to see Raquel already take that top spot, but he's been really good this year. I was surprised to not see him in the initial lineup when it came to this roster, but Sweden's got a really good top line. Nylander, Zibanejad, and Raquel, I think, are going to connect for a lot of good goals. Kempe, Pettersson, Forsberg, I think, is pretty solid there. I think they got good depth. I don't think there's any really outstanding lines for Sweden, but I think they're going to be really consistent throughout the whole lineup when it comes to forwards and defensemen. So really good team right there. Good lineups for Sweden. And lastly, Finland. We'll start off with the forwards. Luukkonen, Barkov, and Rantanen. We got Hintz, Aho, Laine, Luosterainen, Lundell, and Granlund. And lastly, Teravainen, Halla, and Armia. Capo was a 4th line kind of sub in there, but he did not specifically get in any of those lines. And now for the defense, we only have Mikkola and Lindell as pairings. Everybody else seems to be just kind of thrown together by the sounds of it when it came to Elliot Freeman's post. But they have Yukihiro, Mata, Manson, Paulo, Vakanainen, and Välimäki. So I don't know what is going to happen outside of the Mikkola Lindell, but I think defense-wise, it's going to be kind of tough for this Finnish team. They have a lot of injuries, so they had to make a lot of substitutions and adds and subtractions in here and there. Their defense, I think, is going to struggle. I think their goalies, honestly, are going to struggle too, but Saros, you never know. With this kind of short-term tournament, maybe Saros gets hot, gets his team to steal a couple of points, maybe a win or two, and Finland gets into that final game. I don't know, but it's going to be fun to watch regardless of what team is going to be in it. Best on best we haven't had since, I think, 2016, the World Cup of Hockey. We haven't had them in the Olympics for a while. We're going to get them in the next Winter Olympics, which is going to be really exciting for teams like Czechia. I don't think Russia is going to be in the Olympics, but maybe they have like the Olympic athletes from Russia kind of thing, where they don't wear their colors, but they are Russia, that kind of thing. But Czechia being in there is going to be fun to watch. Some other nations as well. So having this short-term best on best is a great warm-up to the Olympics coming up. So very excited to watch this. But yeah, that starts on Wednesday and goes on for the next 2 weeks. So check out your local listings. Everything's going to be on TNT or Max Streaming, and everything's going to be on ESPN, ABC, or Disney Plus. So any of that streaming services that you have, it's going to be out there. So check out that because it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. All right, let's head to the world of golf. I don't think we've had golf on for probably a whole year, probably by now. Because I think the last time we talked about the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And yet again, we had it this last weekend. And obviously, we're going to have to talk about it. The Waste Management Open, the Players Open, or the People's Open, excuse me. This is probably the most anticipated golf tournament outside of maybe some of the few like Masters, the US Open, a couple of the big majors. But when it comes to non-majors, it's probably one of the most anticipated tournaments out there, especially probably the biggest crowd that anybody goes to. Anyways, back to the golf. Waste Management Open, great golf course, great atmosphere, great weather. Last year's weather was not good. This year, outstanding. Thomas Dietrich, the Belgian, winning his first win on the tour, shooting a 24 under. The next closest guys were 17 under, Daniel Berger and Michael Kim. So great outing by Dietrich. Honestly, it was kind of boring golf when it came to Dietrich's play style, but he played perfect. He played safe. It worked. He got 7 strokes on the second place team. So really good performance by Dietrich. Tied for 4th place was Christian Bezuidenhout. I doubt I said that correctly, but South African player. And Jordan Spieth was in there. Jordan Spieth had a big following coming off injury. Looked like he was going to try to make a run. Just hit 16 under, which was really impressive, but just not able to kind of get himself further. A couple other notable golfer finishes. Justin Thomas tied for 6 at 15 under. Cameron Young with 12. Tied for 12th at 13 under. Wyndham Clark tied for 16th at 11 under. Hideki Matsuyama was tied for 25, 9 under. Tom Kim was tied for 44th at 6 under. And Sahith Theegala was tied for 57th, 4 under. So a lot of big names in that tournament. Unfortunately, we didn't get any guys like Rory McIlroy in this tournament or Tiger Woods. But regardless, Waste Management, a lot of fun there. Justin Thomas had a very good Sunday at the end. On 18th, 102 yards out, he eagled out for a great shot to get himself under 15 overall on the week. So really good finish for Justin Thomas. Emilio Grillo on Friday hit the first hole-in-one on hole 16 since 2022. That place was nuts. He didn't even know what to do. He's celebrating like crazy. That was awesome to watch. A slam dunk, if anything. Did not touch the ground, went straight in the hole. Absolutely amazing shot by Grillo. Unfortunately, he did finish his overall night at +4, tied for, or he was at 76th position, but he did make the cut. Definitely has the hearts of a lot of hole 16 spectators there. Now let's head to the amateurs. Arizona State student and my personal friend Jose Ballester competed in this tournament. I mean, congrats to Jose to not just making this tournament, but actually did not do all that bad on Thursday. Did hit even, had a couple birdies, kind of a couple of bogeys. Unfortunately, on Friday, did not make the cut, though. It finished at a +4. But still very cool to see him out there. Congrats to you, Jose. I can't wait to see what happens next with you. But him at ASU, I think ASU is going to have a really good team this year when it comes to golf. So maybe he helps that team get to a national championship. But we'll wait and see. And the other amateur to note, Florida State student Luke Clanton had something else when it came to Friday performances. He hit a +3 on Thursday, so he had to hit about a 66 to make the cut on Friday. Unfortunately, hit a 67 on the last 3 holes. He needed at least 2 birdies. Hole 16, he missed a long shot, missed it by centimeters. Hole 17, he hit a really nice drive and was able to finish it off with the birdie. And on 18, he had the birdie putt. Unfortunately, did miss that. Unfortunately, will miss getting his PGA Tour card right now, but he said it as he's not losing the opportunity. It's just delayed right now, which is a great outlook. Luke Clanton, outstanding, was the best amateur of all of them. There was only, I think, 4 amateurs out there, but Clanton looked really good. Hopefully has a really good year at Florida State. Now for hole 16, we had one ace this year. We had 85 birdies, 264 pars, 61 bogeys, 3 double bogeys, 2 triple bogeys or worse for an average score of +0 or .005. So pretty even when it came to par. Nothing too crazy when it came to hole 16. But the player's worst hole happened to be hole 11. No eagles on this one. 36 birdies, 270 pars, and 99 bogeys, 10 doubles, and 1 triple or worse for an overall average score of plus .207. But the player's best hole was hole 13 at a minus 0.543, 15 eagles, 213 birdies, and 171 pars for hole 13. The announcers did say the second half, the back nine, was a much easier pretty much hill to climb when it came to that compared to the front nine. But for some of the big guys, like Scotty Scheffler, he had a very good front nine and really bad back nine. So it just kind of varies, but it does show here that hole 13 was the easiest hole for these golfers. But really fun tournament to watch this weekend. This upcoming weekend, they are at the Genesis. I think that is down in San Diego. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. But that should be a fun tournament as well. We'll see a lot of good golfers out there, so tune into that. All right, let's head to the MLB. We got pretty much just contracts to talk about, but we got some big ones. The Mets re-signed Pete Alonso to 2 years, $54 million. Not a good contract signing by Alonso, but a good signing by the Mets. I think he will fit well in this lineup. I mean, he fit well last year. I think he'll fit well this upcoming year. Pittsburgh announced that they signed Tommy Pham to 1 year. Minnesota signs Ty France to 1 year. The Angels signed two big names, Yohan Moncada to 1 year, $5 million, and Kenley Jansen for 1 year, $10 million. This is interesting because it sounds like Yohan Moncada will be the starting third baseman as long as everything goes well when it comes to spring training and his performance. They are done with Anthony Rendon. What does that mean? I don't know. Does that mean he's going to be a bench guy? Are they going to trade him? Are they going to buy him out? I do not know, but I am okay with that. As an Angel fan, I am done and tired of seeing Anthony Rendon in the lineup, especially because he doesn't want to play baseball with the Angels, whether that's with the Angels or just as a whole. He doesn't want to be there, and I'm fine moving on from that. Stop catering to the guy. Yohan Moncada is the guy moving forward for the Angels third base. And when it comes to the bullpen, Kenley Jansen, I think of him as a Dodger. It was weird to see him to go to Boston, and now to see him go to the Angel bullpen, I mean, pretty solid. I mean, it's an older player. Who knows what he's got left, but I don't think it's going to hurt the Angels at all having Kenley in that lineup when it comes to the bullpen options. So we'll see if it happens, if it's a good thing. If not, it's a 1 year contract. They move on from Kenley. The Dodgers, though, they did sign Kike Hernandez, and they re-signed Clayton Kershaw, both to 1 year contracts. Two fan favorites. I don't see Kershaw going anywhere else but LA. Kike needs to stay in LA, whether he is a utility guy, whether he is a bench guy, or a starter. Kike needs to stay in LA, so I like both these contracts for the Dodgers. Then we got some news. Ippei Mizuhara, the interpreter for Ohtani, was sentenced to 57 months in prison, that is 4 years and 9 months, on bank fraud charges that were related to theft of millions of dollars from Shohei Ohtani. Not surprised. I mean, Ippei deserves what he got. It's just tough that it would just involves one of the biggest players in baseball history. Hopefully everything is actually settled and more details are out there. I'm not going to get into too much, but he was sentenced 57 months in prison. And lastly, the Chicago Cubs announced that Shota Imanaga will start at least one game in the Tokyo series versus the Dodgers to open up the season. That is, I think, middle to end of March, that series. There'll be two games, just like how the Dodgers and the Padres opened up in I believe that was in South Korea, Seoul, South Korea. And they will start off two games, come back, play the rest of spring training, and then start the regular season. So Cubs and Dodgers are doing that. Imanaga is a Japanese player. Definitely going to be a big hot spot to watch him play for his home country. All right, let's head to softball. The world of softball is back. I love college softball. It's one of those sports that I can sit down and watch regardless of what team for some reason. And obviously, we're going to talk about it. So if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go check out the YouTube channel if you get lost, because it put out a new graphic that helps follow who beat who. That's going to follow for softball, baseball, and college hockey for the rest of the season. So if you guys can't follow what all these numbers are, go check out the YouTube channel because it's definitely will make it easier to follow when it comes to all these results. But let's start off with Thursday. Two notable results. Number 12, Florida State losing to number 4, Oklahoma State 6-9. Number 19, Nebraska beating number 5, Tennessee 7-1. Then we head to Friday. Number 4, Oklahoma State lost to Louisiana Tech 6-1. Number 19, Baylor lost to number 7, Texas A&M 10-7. Number 25, Mississippi State lost to number 8, Duke 8-0. Number 25, Mississippi State beating number 10, Texas Tech 3-1. Number 10, Texas Tech just holding off Penn State 10-9. Number 13, Arkansas smoking Lipscomb in 5 innings 23-0. Number 20, Northwestern losing number 15, Missouri 3-0. Number 20, Northwestern holding off Kennesaw State 5-4. Maryland beating number 21, Cal 6-3. Oregon smoking Buffalo in 5 innings 21-1. Then we had the Saturday results. Number 2, Florida beating number 22, Michigan in 5 innings 13-1. Number 4, Oklahoma State losing to number 12, Florida State in 5 innings 8-0. Number 5, Tennessee beating number 20, Northwestern in 5 innings 12-1. Abilene Christian just not being able to get it done against number 7, Texas A&M 1-0. Number 15, Missouri losing to or beating number 8, Duke 10-3. Number 8, Duke losing to number 20, Western Michigan 4-1. Number 16, Nebraska losing to number 10, Texas Tech 5-6. Number 11, Alabama getting smoked in 5 innings by number 7, Arizona 9-1. And lastly, Arkansas just edging out San Diego 2-1. And lastly, on Sunday, number 16, Nebraska getting shut out by number 25, Mississippi State 3-0. Arizona State beating number 21, Cal 4-6. Number 20, Northwestern beating Southern Miss 2-1. And number 22, Michigan losing to Georgia Southern 2-0. Now, with all that results, we had a new top 25 ranking out. No movement for 1, 2, 3. Texas, Florida, and Oklahoma take 1, 2, and 3. Oklahoma or UCLA gets a +2 to 4. Texas A&M gets a +2 to 5. Tennessee drops 1 to 6. LSU gets a +2 to 7. Texas Tech gets a +2 to 8. Florida State gets a +3 to 9. Oklahoma State drops 6 to 10. Georgia gets a +3 to 11. Alabama drops 1 to 12. Arkansas stays put at 13. Duke drops 6 to 14. Arizona gets +2 to 15. Missouri and Nebraska both drop 1 to 16, 17. Virginia Tech stays put at 18. Mississippi State gets +6 to 19. Oregon jumps up 3 to 20. Northwestern drops 1 to 21. Stanford gets a +1 to 22. Baylor drops 4 to 23. And 2 new unranked teams go up into the rankings. Number 24, Kentucky, and number 25, Florida Atlantic. 2 teams that drop out, number 21, Cal, and number 22, Michigan. Other receiving votes, the top 5 were Auburn, Liberty, South Carolina, Cal, and Boston University. Now for your Arizona State update. 3-1 to start out the year. 1 no contest. The first game, Maryland, they beat them 7-1. Tanya Wendell with a home run. Tyra Ho Chang with also a home run. Cambry Krieger had 4 innings of work, 4 hits, 1 run. Kenzie Brown with a save, 3 innings, 1 hit, 6 Ks. Really solid performance for ASU to start off the year. Then they went out and smoked Miami of Ohio in 5 innings. They were down big in this one, ended up coming back, scoring, I think, 9 in that 5th inning to end up beating them. Tanya Wendell with another big hit, a 3-run double. Kelsey Hall with a home run, first home run since the injury to her ACL last year. She's missed a lot of time. She is now not playing center field, so that is big news for her. She's just now the designated player. Samantha Swan with an RBI, but had 3-hit game. Natasha Lewis, 3-hit game. AJ Harris, 2 home runs in that one, 4 RBIs. The pitching started off, Julianne Tipton, not very good, 5 runs and 5 hits in an inning and a third. But Maika Lupe, or Loppy, 3.2 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, only 1 of those earned, so really good performance there. But Miami of Ohio came back, smoked them in the next game, 12-4 loss. Cambry Krieger, 6 runs, 5 earned, 5 hits, and less than an innings of work. Not a good performance when it came to the pitching there. They were supposed to play Minnesota later that night, but because of all the other games, pushing it back, no game between Minnesota. So they came into Sunday playing against number 21 Cal and upset them 6-4. Tanya with 3 hits, another home run on the day. Kelsey Hall went 2 hits. Aiden Allen 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Lillian Holte with a 2-run pinch hit home run. Krieger, another good performance, 2 1/3 innings, 2 runs on 2 hits. Kenzie Brown, though, getting the win in this one, 4 1/3, 1 hit, no runs on 5 Ks. This upcoming weekend, ASU is hosting the Littlewood Classic. They have a lot of good teams coming in. Oregon being one of those on Thursday. They're a 5-0 team, plus 57 run differential through the first 5 games for number 21 Oregon, or number 19 Oregon, 20 Oregon, 20, man, I'm all over the place. Number 21 Oregon moved up to 20. So Oregon's going to be a very tough game for Arizona State, so that's going to be a tough one there. North Dakota and Weber State, both 3-2. That's the Friday matchups. Saturday, they get Washington and Belmont, both 2-3. But Washington is better than their record. They had a couple of tough games against some tough opponents, Arizona being one of those. So going to be a tough performance there. I think they should be able to get Belmont, though. And then on Sunday, Utah State, they're 2-3. ASU should have no problem with that. I think they'll beat Utah State. So I think overall, 2 losses at most will probably be a big win here for Arizona State. I think those losses could be coming to Oregon and Washington. Based off of how good Oregon has been, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for them. But I think North Dakota, Weber State, Belmont, and Utah State should all be wins. So walking out of the weekend at 4-2, I think is a very big positive for Arizona State. But we will have to wait and see. All right, let's head to college hockey, which we got the notable results and we got the new graphic right there. We'll start off with Friday. Number 18, UMass beating number 10, UConn 5-4. Boston University losing to Merrimack in overtime 2-1. Number 5, Maine tying number 7, Providence with 3-3. Number 1, Boston College beating number 19, New Hampshire 4-2. St. Cloud State getting shut out by number 4, Western Michigan 4-0. Number 13, Michigan beating number 2, Michigan State 2-1. Vermont beating number 9, UMass Lowell 5-3. Penn State beating number 20, Wisconsin 2-0. Colorado College beating number 16, North Dakota 6-4. Augustana ranked 17th, beating number 15 ranked Minnesota State 4-1. Other way around. Minnesota State beating Augustana 4-1. Number 6, Denver beating number 12, Arizona State in overtime 5-4. Then we had a Saturday with number 9, UMass Lowell losing to number 10, UConn 5-4. Number 5, Maine beating number 7, Providence in overtime 1-0. Merrimack beating number 19, New Hampshire 5-4. Clarkson beating number 14, Quinnipiac 3-2. Number 6, Denver losing to number 12, Arizona State in overtime 6-5. Penn State smoking number 20, Wisconsin 6-2. Colorado College losing to number 16, North Dakota 3-1. Number 17, Augustana losing number 15, Minnesota State 2-1. And lastly, number 2, Michigan State beating Michigan 6-1 in that contest. Then we head to the Bean Pot where we had semifinals last week. Number 8, Boston University, and number 1, Boston College, both winning those games big. 7-1 win for BU and an 8-2 win for Boston College, where we had Harvard and Northeastern as the third place match, Harvard winning that one. And then we had Boston University versus Boston College. Boston University dominating the second half of this game, a 4-1 victory for them. Holding on to that trophy. Boston College has not won this tournament since 2016, so it's a tough outlook for them, especially when they were up 1-0 to start off that game. But an awesome stat that I had written down from the broadcast, they said these 4 teams have combined for 10 national championships. All 10 of these national championship teams won the Bean Pot first. So very big, important performances when it comes to the Bean Pot. So history shows, do not choose Boston College to win the national championship. If anything, Boston University has history on their side here. So Bean Pot, one of the most thought after when it comes to tournaments and college trophies outside the national championship. And BU wins it this year. So huge win for the Terriers. Let's head to the top 20 now, where we have Boston College staying put at 1, Michigan State staying put at 2, Minnesota stays at 3, Western Michigan stays at 4, Maine stays at 5, Denver stays at 6, Providence stays at 7. Ohio State gets a +3 to 8, Boston University drops 1 to 9, UConn stays put at 10, ASU gets a +1 to 11, Michigan gets a +1 to 12, UMass Lowell drops 5 to 13, Quinnipiac and Minnesota State stay put at 14 and 15, UMass gets a +2 to 16, North Dakota jumps 1 to 17. Penn State goes from unranked to 18. Colgate goes from unranked to 19. Omaha goes from unranked to 20. The teams that drop out: Augustana from 17, New Hampshire from 19, and Wisconsin from 20. Other receiving votes, we had Augustana, Colorado College, Clarkson, New Hampshire, and Union. And now Arizona State update. It was a weekend split. Both games went to overtime, so big games, big performances, really fun games to watch on TV. And Friday's game was actually on TV. It was on CBS Sports Network, so really good games from both. But the 5-4 loss in overtime was the Friday game. Goals from Ty Jackson, Shimmick, Lucius, and Cylinder. Multi-point games from only coming from Potter. He had 2 points in that one. Power play was 1 for 3. PK was 3 for 3, which was huge because best power play in the nation belongs to Denver, second Arizona State. So we expected a lot of power play goals in this one, but only 1 goal, and that came from Arizona State's unit. So really big performance there from the special teams. Goalie was Luke Pavicic, 29 of 34 was his saves, and Noah Beck played his 150th NCAA game in that one. Saturday was the overtime win, 6-5 win. Goals from Smolin, Kerwan, 2 from Shimmick, and 2 from Cylinder. Multi-point games, all of these players had 2 points. Ty Jackson, Lucius, Cylinder, and Shimmick. Power play, unfortunately, was 0 for 3 in this one, and penalty kill was, unfortunately, 2 for 4. So power play came back alive for Denver in this one. Goalies, Gibson Homer started this one 24 of 29. After his 5th goal, which became a 5-3 lead for Denver, he was yanked, and Pavicic came in that one. He went 4 for 4. Did not play all that much, but did have to play that overtime. Made all 4 of those saves that he faced. On the weekend, though, Gibson Homer, 827 save percentage for Pavicic, and 868 save percentage. So after the weekend, what happens? Western Michigan wins both of their games, and ASU only wins 1, and that was in overtime. So they only get 2 points. They get the 1 point, though, for the overtime loss, meaning that Western Michigan leads the conference by 3 points and still has 2 games in hand over Arizona State. So that is a big question mark on who's going to upset Western Michigan for Arizona State, because ASU obviously needs to keep winning out, but they need to hope that teams beat up on the Mustangs, on the Broncos. So it's going to be tough. It's a lot to ask, especially with how good Western Michigan is this year, being a top 5 school pretty much all season long. So it's going to be a lot to ask. This upcoming weekend, though, they play against Minnesota Duluth on the road. My prediction, it's going to be a weekend sweep. I don't think there's going to be any problem against the Bulldogs. They should be able to at least stay put with Western Michigan, if not maybe gain some points this upcoming weekend. So big games this weekend for ASU. All right, games of the weekend. Let's head to the 4 nations. USA versus Canada is on Saturday, 5 p.m. on ABC. NBA, we got the All-Star game starting on Sunday, 5:20 p.m. Men's basketball from college, number 1 Auburn versus number 2 Alabama, Saturday at 1 p.m. on ESPN. College softball, we have a lot to go through. Number 5, Texas A&M versus number 10, Oklahoma State, Saturday, 7 in the morning on ESPN2. Also on Saturday, number 4, UCLA versus number 12, Alabama. That is at 1 on ESPNU. On Sunday, we had number 14, Duke versus number 2, Florida at 10 a.m. And number 8, Texas Tech versus number 1, Texas, 10:30 a.m. That one's on SEC Network Plus. College baseball starts this week. We had number 15, Clemson versus number 21, Arizona, Saturday at 9 a.m. And college hockey, number 20, Omaha versus number 4, Western Michigan. All right, guys, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. 144 episodes in the books. If you guys are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go check out the YouTube channel, because we got a lot of graphics that you guys aren't seeing. Helps follow the episodes, but we appreciate you guys listening regardless. If you guys are on YouTube already, hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell icon so you guys are notified when these episodes drop. Make sure you guys check out sports this weekend, because we got so much coming from college to best on best tournaments from the NBA and the NHL. And we also got some of the best college basketball games we're going to see this weekend. So a lot of sports regardless of what you guys like. So go check that out. So have an awesome weekend. Have a sport-packed weekend. and we'll see you guys later.